day. We just double honey all day.
So we've got Jeff on here, and we're gonna have to call him for the audio. Because he couldn't hear. So we've got him on video right here. And I'm gonna mute him on here.
So he's not.
Go ahead.
You don't have a children's.
If you wanna just make sure you let everybody know he's joining.
You don't have to go through it again.
I tell you, man, if you may need to check the how you had your knee work, so you may need to check, get the eyes looked at.
More so on
Except
this
for
one.
Harley.
I didn't know anything about that.
Okay.
Now, we know, I don't want you to know, but you do got the medicine excuse for the knee and stuff, so you pretty much get to say whatever you want.
I'd rather get it stretched out, brother.
All right, or to make it start.
Glad we got the attorney sits back there in the back, so we can, you know, keep everything nice and controlled.
And he needs to have the attorney needs a mute button for him.
Jeff is. Is that red? I see. Yeah.
Okay, here, let me do that.
Just gonna have to, you have to mute your, on your side. Or you-
Can you plug in your headphones, Jeff?
What if we want to turn on the channel?
Are you still there, Jeff?
Turn the volume down on the computer. If you can, just, not on the thing, but on your computer, yeah.
We lost him over here. He's not there anyway.
All right. Let's call back. We lost somebody with the truck. 81828.
I know, Ron. So our live stream is just like online.
Frozen time. No, he moved.
So are you saying like you can just see Jeff? Are you saying like so when people watch it, they can only see Jeff? Yeah, that's not. Maybe. I mean, this is on YouTube, or live on YouTube, but my screen, it's just space.
So if people are watching the commission, they're seeing Jeff's face. And he's got a Cheerio in his beard.
But I think this is a live stream, yeah, so then that's fine. I guess this is what everybody's thinking.
That's what we're getting. That's what it's going. It's going a little bit in the past.
Sorry, I'm trying to get audio, just, we were hearing the echo there, so. I don't know how to hang up on it. We're gonna get rolling and, sorry, guys always try to, hope you're feeling all right. If you need anything, just do that. We'll, call this meeting to order. Welcome everybody. And, please remember to sign the mobile device.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day that you blessed us with, for the beautiful weather today, and for the health that we have and the ability we have to come out and do the business of our county. We pray that you would guide our thoughts, intentions, every action that's taken. May we do it with prayerful consideration. We thank you for the audience that we have here in front of us and also online. Help us to do the right thing in your eyes always. Bless our time together. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
allegiance to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone, please make yourself aware of the ethics awareness conflict of interest reminder. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda this evening?
Chairman Pittman, I move that we strike item B from proposed presentations of the Mitchell County Wage Police. I don't believe that's going to be necessary now.
Second.
All in favor, vote with the usual sign. Please, on your agenda this evening, mark item 10B off. We'll do that in a later time. Any other additions or changes to the agenda this evening? Hearing none, do I have a move we adopt the agenda?
Second.
All in favor, vote with the usual sign. Motion carries. Do we have any public comments? Don't see any today. We have approval, a motion to approve the minutes from July 5th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion carries. Next on the list this evening, we have our recognition for employees. Working hard. And was the second. So next thing we have on our list tonight is our recognition for Employee of the Month. I believe this is a two-time winner. Is this your second? Is this your first time?
Yeah.
I thought this is your second. Right? I know Brock won one time. But okay. Both coming out of our Parks and Recreation Department. So congratulations. So, friends, you got anybody out there that don't know Mr. Ryan Cook? He's a staple in Mitchell County. You couldn't find a finer fellow out there that I know of. So it doesn't surprise me that you've been nominated for Employee of the Month. It says you've been nominated and selected as Employee of the Month winner for June. Recognition is for going beyond the call of duty and meeting the needs of the Recreation Department. One example for receiving this recognition and going above your job responsibilities is working extremely long hours to ensure that everything is in order so that hundreds of kids can play baseball, which includes field maintenance, program planning and such, coordinating and juggling the many other programs offered: flag football, contact football, basketball, co-ed soccer, girls volleyball, t-ball, softball. Can be challenging on a good day. However, your dedication to the kids and the county keeps it running smooth. I'd add in there the referee, and I think you do some refereeing as well. I know you do whatever it takes. Your willingness and diligence allows the director to take care of planning for growth and additional opportunities for the Parks and Rec Department. Thank you for being a role model of the kids participating in their youth athletic programs and ensuring that the Recreation Department runs efficiently to obtain the goal of personal and athletic growth and ensuring a healthy lifestyle for all Mitchell County. Congratulations on being selected Mitchell County Employee of the Month winner for June. On behalf of County Commissioners of Mitchell County, we'd like to thank you and continue to have our support. I appreciate all your contributions. Like I say, I think everybody in the county knows you very well, and we're proud of you. We're lucky to have you here, and we're lucky to have our Parks Department. Brock did a fine job, so appreciate all you do, man.
Appreciate it.
Come on, let's get your picture back.
Is he a bad parent?
Watch the course there.
Yeah, I know, I photoed them on the last ones.
Ah,
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you folks.
See you, Tony King.
Have a good day.
Ron, thank you, Jeff. We got
See
you.
you, Tony King. Hey, if you want to talk to Sheriff's Office, you can still hear me. She's there right now.
Yeah. She there now?
She's there.
Next on the agenda this evening, Jeff, we got you back now. Yes, sir. Next on the agenda this evening, we've got Mellon Community College, Dr. Boyd. Dr. Boyd.
Good evening. I hope y'all doing well, and I thought it'd be a good time to come in and do an update. But along with that, of course, I want to do a little bit of a discussion on philosophy of where we're going. And because I think you need to understand that side of it. And certainly, you know, one of the things that we look close at is, and you saw a little bit of that with Chad when he was here last time. You know, that in the smaller counties and stuff like that, budgets start becoming challenges. But the real issue is there's only two ways to raise a budget. And that is either you raise taxes or you raise the base. And so our philosophy is to be doing everything we can to help raise the base. And so with that, and in any economy, you're looking at, you know, for at least right now, for us here, is it an entrepreneurial base or is it an industrial base? And, you know, our EDC and the college has that same philosophy, is that we're really focused more right now on entrepreneurial base in the tourism world. Industrial bases, we do it with Alltech, we do it with BRP, we do a lot of industrial. But also when you're attracting industrial companies, there's a to be competitive, it costs a lot of money. You know, you saw some of that with the joint park discussion in Yancey. And you saw when Yancey got Little League Farms, they bought $2 million worth of land and gave it to them. So it's, you know, so our focus right now, until we get into prospects where we can do more of the industrial, is to focus on the entrepreneur. And frankly, I think a strong entrepreneurial economy is a strong economy. I think it adds a good base to an economy. And so that's where we're kind of focused on that. And so as we're moving along right now, we're really the college is really kind of turned more into a developer in our projects. And within that, we have two phases that we're working on. Phase one is the construction side. And on phase one, we're pushing a lot of money into local builders. And so we're hiring a lot of local people that are doing that. We're subcontracting a lot of that work out ourselves. And so we're paying people, they're paying their people. Those people are going out into the economy and they're spending their money here. So it's not a large developer or a large construction company that's coming in and they go home on the weekend and spend their money. They live here, they spend their money here. They go to our restaurants, they go to our shops. And so there's a value in that. And so we put a lot of emphasis on doing that. And we've been able to help two of the people here get their general contractor license now because they've done enough work with us. And that changes the rules a whole lot now because they can compete on larger projects that we do. So, and then, so that's really kind of the first phase, is pushing money out into the economy through the workforce. The second phase is to start pushing, and we're getting into that in some of our projects, is pushing money into the economy from bringing people in. You know, you bring people in into the community, and we know we do bring them in, they're going to the restaurant, especially if they're spending the night. They're going to bed and breakfasts, they're going to our hotel. They're spending money in the restaurants, they're spending money in stores. And so when you have other people coming in and helping to spend that money into our economy, then you get a point where our local people have better options. You have more restaurants, better restaurants, more shops, because they can survive. You know, if you were living off of summer economy, like the summer people that come here and live and go home in the winter, it's tough to get through the rest of the year. And so we're working on that year-round economy is what we do. And so that's kind of the core of the direction the college is going and the philosophy that we're going underneath. Our different projects, and I'll run through them and give you updates on that. We'll start with the hotel. The hotel is fully open with the second floor yet. We hope to have the third floor done by the end of August. And we're working hard on that. Little bumps like waiting 10 weeks for shower stalls. We decided to put shower stalls in the upstairs because we had requests from people, but we didn't realize at the time it's going to take 8 to 10 weeks to get them in. But they're all in, they're all set up. We start painting tomorrow upstairs, and so we'll put the first 2 coats of paint on, and then we'll be able to start putting ceiling grids in for ceiling tiles. So that's moving along. If you go by, you see all the stakes out along the hillside. That's the landscape project. We're just waiting on the contractor, James Phillips, to get started on that. And so that will be 3 tiers. If you want to see what it looks like, you can go to the Blue Ridge Boutique Hotel. If you haven't seen it, it shows the picture of it. I know Steve has seen it. It's nice.
Yeah.
There's 3 tiers. It's got a lot of landscaping in it, but it's also got, the fire pits and all that in it as well. And then inside, and then so that's getting ready to start. So we'll be finishing the 3rd floor. We should have the 3rd floor done, all 32 rooms, and the landscaping done for fall. And then we've got stamped documents now for the restaurant and bar. So we're ready to that. We're getting pricing on that. Whether or not we do it right away will depend on what the pricing is, but.
Are you doing any marketing to attract the leaf lickers and those type of folks that come
Well,
in this fall?
we're still hitting our state magazine hard, and we hit Carolina Mountain Magazine hard. When we're fully open with the hotel and restaurant and bar, then we'll start hitting more of the billboards and stuff.
I saw a few billboards. I saw one last night when I went up to the high country, going up towards Boone there.
And the billboards are good here, but they're better in Charlotte and Winston-Salem, places like that. But we get a lot of visibility in our state magazine, a lot of that. And so we'll start the restaurant and bar as soon as we can. I think we'll be okay to get going on it sooner rather than later. We will put the foundation of the restaurant in with the landscaping because it's all one piece. And so we've got all 32 rooms rented in September. And so we got to be done with that. And so we're moving hard.
Push yourself.
We're and the hotel, from January through June, it's the current numbers, we're making money. Not a lot of money, but we were closed off and on a lot in the spring because of renovations and stuff. So and we do know from businesses downtown they can say they know when we're full or when we have a lot of people at the hotel. And we're getting a lot of business from the mines. And so we want that. And so the hotel's come along really well. We really appreciate your support on that early on. That really made the difference of being able to do it. When we're done, the hotel will be a $2 million project. And so maybe a bit more than that. And then the Coliseum next door, cosmetology should open there in August. I say should because the cosmetology board comes up tomorrow to inspect. And so we think we're in pretty good shape for that. It's not been a pleasant project with the contractor, but we're finally about through with it. And we have Van Noy hired as contractor and design build to do the north end of the Coliseum towards 19E, where the YMCA will be coming in. We will be, I review initial design documents next week. Sometime the documents or estimate, or the documents are due, final documents or the 30% design development are due to Van Noy from the architect the 16th of August. At that point, Van Noy will be able to put together a do not exceed numbers, guarantee maximum price on that project. I'm anticipating for our cost to be somewhere in the $5.5 to $6 million. We're putting in a complete new entranceway. We're putting in a stairwell, elevator system, the designing the bathrooms on the first floor. In order to mitigate the wall, the big wall along the parking lot, we don't have a lot of issues with it, but the Y is concerned because they're getting ready to put pools beside it. And I understand those issues. And so to mitigate that, what we're going to do is we're going to build the exterior wall of the swimming pool area, which is a certain distance away from the wall. And then that will be filled in with dirt. And so instead of a suspended pool at the second floor level, the Y will then put in in-ground pools. And then about 6 feet from the wall, we'll put in a foundation and build it. So the first wall will be about 14 feet. Where the pool is going to go, the second wall will be about 14 feet. And then we fill that in, and at that point, we basically buried the concrete wall. And it's no longer a bearing wall. And so what that does for the Y's benefit is that we're basically building the exterior of their pool area, and we're building their interior wall on that end. And so that's a benefit for them. We'll also be putting in a new second floor, a new third floor. The current third floor is wood, and it can't be wood, so we'll demo all that out and pour a third floor. The good news is we don't have to brace the first floor because apparently that second floor was built strong enough to be a nuclear bomb shelter. And so we'll be getting, and so we're basically demoing everything out of there and getting everything back in place for them to do what they need to do. My guess is we're probably between us, we're probably in a $13, $14 million project. And certainly great benefits. And then we are working right now above the cosmetology. There's a new door in the Coliseum. When you walk out of the hotel, you see it. That is our resource center for entrepreneurs. We decided after we got rid of Allen that we would build a whole new place for a small business center. No, seriously, this started under Allen was big help in the design on that. He actually was helped to do the design. And so that will be our small business center, but it'd be expanded services, greatly expanded services in there. We have interviewed, we were going to start trying to do the massage next, but the chamber has said that this is their last year in the Old Roses building. They need to be in there next year, so we're modifying our plans to go ahead and do kind of a phase to get massage, everything ready for massage, while also doing a new entrance in the south end, and then getting stairwell up to where massage is going to be. Probably an elevator in there as well, although we don't need one right now, but we'll probably try to get that in. And then the bathrooms downstairs on that side, and at that point, and then new windows and new lighting, and at that point, we can do temporary occupancy. We walked through all this with Tommy, he didn't see a problem. So we intend to be having temporary occupancy next summer. So you can do the minimum gem festival in there, and now we're calling a meeting with the 3 chambers, Main Street, and the college to start talking about what types of activities, programs, shows and stuff like that do they want to see in there? And we'll start scheduling a year out. Car shows, gun shows, Christmas shows, concerts, all types of things like that. We'll start scheduling, and that would be a year out. Some of the stuff will take a year, some of it we won't probably be able to get with it here. But we'll start trying to get stuff going on in there most every weekend. And when we start bringing in 500 to 1,000 people, and that's before, of course, the final event space is built. But we'll be able to bring, I think, a good group of people in on a regular basis. The idea on there, again, on the tourism side is you have a centerpiece, you bring people in, and then you push them out into our region, into the other 2 counties in the Bakersville, in that area to do, where they can shop, where they can spend the night, stuff like that. So, but the idea though is to focus and bring people in. And so, that Coliseum is moving along. And I keep saying it's about a $46 million project. We're only $46 million short, but we'll get there. No, we've put a lot of money into it already, and we've got money going in. So the project of getting the south end done, getting the north end done, we've got the money for that. And so and the resource center, we've got the money for that. So all that's come along. I'm glad to see prices starting to go down a little bit. But again, even with Van Noy, we stressed to them on hiring the local subcontractors. And they seem very agreeable to that. And so so that's going along. Our Earth to Sky Park, we have done our grand opening on the planetarium. Alan and Jeff were there. What do you think?
Well, it was really impressive, very impressive. Jeff and I both was walking around and saw the bee paintings on the wall. This dude does a daggone bee. I mean, to tell you,
the bees, the bees cool.
bees are good. And then the planetarium, of course.
And so the planetarium gives you a sense of where we're going. If you're going to go to an economy that brings people in, quality has to be up there on top. And you'll see that in our cosmetology center. You'll see it in the Coliseum as we go along. You'll see it, you do see it at the planetarium, you see it at the observatory. Next month, we start work on the last 2 of the Quonset huts to create child discovery centers. We're bringing a lot of summer camps this summer with kids coming in. They're regular, the summer school kids our school districts are bringing them into there. To give you an example, this weekend we had 41 people in the planetarium Friday night and 41 people in the planetarium Saturday night. So we're bringing people in. Again, it's an IDA site, which is important. Dark sky tourism is a growing area, and it's surprising just how big a growth that is seeing. And so we are IDA site certified with International Dark Sky Association. We are the only higher ed in the world that has an IDA observatory. And we're one of 2 sites in the IDA sites in the world that has an observatory and planetarium. The other one is in South Korea. So if you want to go to an IDA site and see all that stuff, you don't have a lot of choice. And we're bringing a lot of people in, about 70–80% based on zip code, 70–80% of the people coming to the observatory are driving 3 or more hours. And the good thing about an observatory is you get done late at night and you don't want to drive 3 hours to go home. And so we're seeing a lot of people coming in. The key for us ultimately will be getting people off the parkway to come down and spend a couple days. And that's kind of the direction we're going. And so the planetarium, though, the shows are incredible. They're really, we did the 20-minute shows for that, but we're doing the full shows now. We're getting ready to buy a laser light projection. So we do laser light shows. So you can come out to the music of the Beatles and watch the lasers. pop all over the place in there. And so it's a great resource for the region. And it's bringing people into the region. And so our next venue will be, as we get the hotel going fully with the landscaping and that, is to go in after the wedding market with the planetarium and with the observatory and with everything else that's in this region. And they come in and they spend money. And that's what we want. And so with that, later on in your agenda, you'll see I've got a reappointment for Keith request. Keith chairs our Building and Grounds Committees, instrumental in a lot of things we do. We rely a lot on his expertise from his hospital days and construction. And of course, he's at every event. And that's really what we need, is board members who are participating and board members who have a value that they bring with them. In this case, the building and grounds and the construction side of that. One last thing, this is for Vern's benefit, Christmas party this year.
Hey, thank you.
Usually it's in early December. In early December, I'll be in Arizona with a rifle chasing elk. And so we decided to do the not Christmas party. So we're going to do our Christmas party the last week of September. And so the nice thing about that is that we can, instead of having the tables all over the house, if the weather's nice, we can have tables outside and on the decks and everything else. And if you haven't been to one of the Christmas parties, Vern, what do you think?
You couldn't ask for any better, and the food is phenomenal, and there's a coconut cake with my name on it.
Yes, there is. Yes, Vern comes for the coconut cake. And here I thought it was a brisket.
It's a brisket too, man. It's a brisket.
But it is a great party. We do one, and it's a good time to be around the other county commissioners too, because you usually have a good turnout of all three county commissions. And so we do, of course, we're working on those invitations now. So the elk hunt has got us moving, and if it's good, we may just do a not Christmas party every year. And so anyway, thank you for all you do.
I've got some questions.
Yeah.
You've been up there talking. I've got a couple
I'm
of them.
getting Jeff down, Mike, you know, but for some reason he's.
Yes, he just said I'm all.
All right, I got you back in there, Jeff. I saw where you were out, so I think we're back again.
I can hear Dr. Boyd, very good presentation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Dr. Boyd. So, which is my first question. This one was your first. So as far as your board, what are the term limits on your board? Like how are your bylaws set up to your term limits?
We don't have term limits, but typically they serve 2 terms. Typically, it's the appointing authority that sets the term limits. And the only one that has set term limits has been Avery County, that's 2 terms.
2 terms.
And this would be Keith's second term.
Second term total?
Yeah.
Let's see here. When you're talking about the event center, do you have any ideas on how to expand the parking? Because the numbers you're talking about.
We're working on
what's the
that.
game plan on that?
No, we're working on that. And that's as much as I can say about it right now.
Okay, but it is a new parking lot, right?
Hmm?
It is a new parking lot, right? Okay. As far as the hotel and it being fully opened, what is your average number of stays that you have had per month?
But it's really hard to give you a good number right now, because we were closed so much in the winter. We've had,
5, 30.
but it varies so much right now, you can't tell. What I'm looking at right now isn't the average stays, I'm looking at the bottom lines.
Okay, it was a citizen that had asked me that, and
Yeah.
since there was county tax dollars for that, I thought that would be good for me to ask.
Well, and I do appreciate the dollars. Now, I will say this too, and that is that and this would be an exception because it's a hotel, but it's in the, we're like the school district. Our construction is supposed to be county dollars, all of it. The fact that we get state funds to help, the fact that I raise a lot of money to help, But by state law, when you set up when you set up and agree to have to host community college, along with that is that you're paying the facility needs, the custodian, the security,
The event center,
huh?
the event center.
You're not putting a penny in it.
I'm just asking questions, there's no.
No, but what I'm saying though is that I do appreciate that you guys put money into it. But sometimes it feels like that you don't think that that the county's has any responsibility for that. And to any of what our facilities are. And that is the state law is
To pay for a hotel.
to pay for our construction on our buildings and pay for renovations and everything else.
For a hotel.
Well, it's a state building, but I didn't say it.
That is
Hotel's
yes
probably
or
the
no.
exception. We didn't put money in anything else.
Just asking questions. I'm just asking questions that the citizens have asked me to ask.
And that's fine, but understand my point. We're
Understand
saying it's a
mine.
school district in that. And so all of our custodian staff, all of our maintenance staff, all of our utility bills, all that are county funds. And in the construction of facilities like the on-spot building and stuff like that, the welding renovation, we did all that with private funds.
All right, well, if you could have somebody on your payroll, give Alan the numbers of occupants that have stayed at the hotel for a monthly breakdown, I would greatly appreciate
Okay.
that.
We've got it all in our system.
So will the state money that they gave you just in this budget cycle be enough to get that third floor open?
Oh, we've got 3 different sources of revenue coming in. So that's some. We've got 2 other grants. We've got about 600,000 coming in. So that will open the third floor and certainly do the landscaping.
All right, and so this was a question from one of the businesses on Lower Street. Do you think that when you open a bar and a restaurant in your hotel, do you think that's going to hinder small business across the street from you?
I don't think so. I think that it's a kind of a standalone facility.
So then the $5 to $6 million you're talking about the Coliseum, is that separate monies from Mainland Community College?
That's money that through the foundation.
Okay, so that's not made up, supposed to go towards education.
No.
And then, so I'm assuming then all of the money generated from your observatory would also be channeled through that entity, not the college entity.
It goes through our MEC, our Mainland Enterprise Corporation, which is a standalone 501c3, separate from the foundation.
And so is that money generated back out through Mitchell, Yancey, and Avery? Is it that?
I'm not
part
sure
of
what you
money?
mean, generated back
So
out.
money that goes to the college. Revenue generated from the observatory, does that go filter back out to each campus? and
It
each county?
hasn't generated that much money. You know, we stay full, but we've had, certainly with weather like it is here, either, cloudy nights, rainy nights, stuff like that. And so right now, most of the money that the ESP is, and the ESP has been all private dollars as well and grants. The money that the ESP is generating is going back into finishing the ESP. We've got the Child Discovery Centers to finish. We've got some more landscaping to finish. And the MEC, the Mainland Enterprise Corporation, has 2 primary functions for revenue as it's producing revenue. And that is, part of it goes back into the student activities and scholarships and stuff. And the other part goes into faculty and staff for professional development. We have very little professional development money. And so what we're trying to do is build professional development for our faculty and staff so that we can send them places and do things that we can't do now. So that's where that money is earmarked for, at least for the short term. And so you know, we were meeting today, I'd like to be able to send students to Skills USA competitions and stuff like that. And to do that, I have to have other money. And so that's kind of the purpose behind the match. But the greater purpose of what we're doing isn't necessarily money brings into the college, it's money brings into the community. And, you know, that's why we're doing this. This isn't, what we're doing is not normally what you would see a community college do. But, you know, to be honest with you, who else right now is doing a lot of development? And so, you know, we're doing what we can to try and make a difference.
That's all my questions for
Dr. Wood, is tuition free right now for students? I saw that there's some emergency relief funds.
Yes, and for high school graduates from last year and this year, if they qualify, and most of them can. We're doing a lot, and ultimately, we're trying to make more and more of our programs tuition free. One of the things that we're doing is we're doing work scholarships. So, for example, we're given, I think it's 7 scholarships this year that are work scholarships. The students get free tuition, free fees. There's no tuition fees. They work 16 hours a week. I'm paying them $15 an hour. And they're working at the hotel and they're working at the on-spot rapid prototype center. It's a good deal.
So they get $15 an hour and free tuition?
Yeah.
That's not a bad deal at all.
Yeah. And they get a resume. They build a resume while they're doing it. And so, you know, for example, the ones in the on-spot building in the rapid prototype, our students went to Buck Stove. They wanted to have us look at building some parts for them, for door hardware. So students went to Buck Stove, looked at the hardware. They did all the measurements and all that, built the parts on the machines. And then within that, they figured out how much material it took, how much time it took, and built in a little bit of profit. And then went back to Buck Stove and presented that to Buck Stove and said, this is what it would cost for us to do this. And of course, Buck Stove said, well, that's too much. And so students had to go back, but the students are the ones that are doing all that. And then they go back and forth in the negotiations. Where else do you get that kind of education? You know, our students work on our 3D metal printer. We're printing parts for BRP. We print a pile of parts this year. And so when I say that, what you have is we have and we're the only community college in the state with this. So BRP designs a part for a new manifold cover for an engine. You know, when they lost Evinrude, they had to rebuild the business. So they designed a new part. They get a sign from Milwaukee. They designed it, email it to us. We print it in 2 days. They ship it to Milwaukee and it's attached to the engine. They don't have to pour any molds. The metal they specify the metal that they want used. And so they know the part is right. They know they've got the contract for the part before they have to actually go in and have to build molds and all that.
Yeah, let's call them back.
And so, that students do that. Western Carolina has one of those machines, but their students aren't allowed to use it. And so, our students use our machines. We're going to have students eventually come out of that program, start a small business, and hire some of your fellow graduates here to do that. And so, but we're paying those students $15 an hour to do that work. And so our goal is to keep expanding that. I like the idea of work scholarships where students have to work for their, and get the chance to build a resume.
When do you expect to see some more of these green programs being added?
Well, we're
the hospitality industry and some of the
Yeah.
stuff you guys are doing?
we're in process of adding, a paramedic to RN. And that's a good program. And we've got, we're right now working on culinary. We're gonna have a culinary program in the Coliseum. We're working on a new program for meat cutting, for butchering. And, so students will grade meat, butcher meat, cut it into the fancier cuts. What we found is that, what is the big meat raiser? Hickory Nut Farms ships their animals to the east because people over here can't cut the cuts they want. And so we'll be training people to do those kind of cuts. Again, it will be a storefront, so we'll sell that meat out of it. And then we'll also use that meat for our restaurant and for our culinary program.
You guys working with Hickory Nut Farms on that project? Or?
We're talking. And so those are a couple of the programs we're working on. And so, and then we're wanting to add hospitality as a certificate to the business degree. Yeah.
So not a standalone.
Yeah. We had a standalone, and when I got here, we had 2 students. We only ever had 1 graduate. It's not a popular program in a 2-year degree format. It is in a 4-year, but not in a 2-year degree.
Hospitality.
Yeah.
What's the butcher? Is that a certificate?
Yeah. And that'll be a workforce, so it won't be a curriculum program. Workforce. But it's, you know, they'll learn how to do, you know, specialty sausages and all that type of stuff. And so I'll be able to get my briskets. I'll be able to buy my briskets from the college store. And so we're looking at that. But we run into some of the same things, you know, with, we wanted to do paramedic, we wanted to do EMT programs with the high schools, but that takes 10 students, and at some of the limits they're getting into now, that's a big chunk of their class. And so, you know, everything, you know, when I say we want growth and what we ultimately in 18 years, I want the people that are moving here for this stuff to have kids, and in 18 years be at my college. And in 5 years, be in the public schools. But the shrinkage rate that you're seeing, particularly in the public schools, it's not good. I think Chad says we're going to be in about the 1400s and by 26. When the high school was built, it was close to 1,000 just in the high school.
How's y'all's going?
Well, our curriculum is down some, but our real hit has been our Con Ed and our prisons.
And there's no talks about starting that back up.
Well, we're back in, but then the shortage of guards. So COVID kicked us out. Now the shortage of guards is we're in and out. Yeah, and so, you know, that was kind of a hit. But there's some of the stimulus money that we've gotten. I've budgeted things out for the next 3 years. So I've stabilized our funding for the state funding for 3 years. And you know, that's the best I can do that far out. And that will at least protect the college.
Dr. Boyd, last night at the high country meeting, they talked about, I think July 27th from 10 to 12, you guys are hosting is it career? NC State, is it something with NC State and the career group, or is this the workforce development? There's one at the high country from the 26th to 2 to 4, and then on the 27th from 10 to 12.
It's a high country. It's a high country workforce. And so I don't have any particulars on it right now.
Okay.
I haven't looked at it yet.
I didn't know if you knew what all was coming into that or not. Sorry to hit you with the
No, that's fine.
curveball on that.
And then we do have grant money. We're in design. We're going to put a new entrance project in at the college main campus. You know where that bottom land is? The creek is going against the road and eroding the road and polluting the water. So to stop polluting the water, we're going to straighten the creek. And then we're going to put walkways on both sides of the creek.
Is this on the campus or?
Yeah, on the main campus. And then where the old barn is there, that's coming down, and the Malin Beekeepers Association is gonna have a set up there. And so we try to work really close with all the entities. And so, and we do.
The tuition assistance help y'all's enrollment, you see any impact from that?
The tuition assistance,
Yeah.
well, it's kind of odd. You know, what they did was you couldn't use that money for them to pay tuition.
Really?
All we could do is give them a check. Even if they didn't pay us, we couldn't take the money to pay it. And yeah, no, it didn't. I asked Senator Tillman early on in the process of COVID, when they started pouring all that money in, why they did not require people to, if they, you know, with the COVID, all that COVID money, why not require them to get an education while they're sitting around the house, not working? And I kind of got a blank stare. I think they were in such a hurry to get money out, they never thought about doing something that could develop a workforce while people were at home. And that would have been great for a lot of people. But they didn't do that. But the tuition money, the student funds can only be, we cannot use that and hand it to them or pay the tuition for them. We can only give them a check.
And then they have to pay the tuition.
And they have to pay the tuition or not. And so most of the students, most of our full-time students got a $500 check last spring. And so and most of them would have gotten financial aid, so they probably didn't have to pay anything anyway. So, you know, it's good for them. But it was a really odd, I've never seen anything quite like that. And yeah, it was a good deal. And we just didn't do it for curriculum, but the workforce students, the LET, all those people got it too. Yeah, you'd have thought that it would have been money for that. And so, and tuition money doesn't help us a lot, to be honest with you, because we don't keep our tuition. All of our tuition dollars goes back to the state. The legislature budgets tuition as part of our budget. If we don't bring in, as a system, we don't bring in enough money, then they ask for money back.
So you're funded based on enrollment dollars as well?
Yeah. Pure enrollment. And so.
I guess part-time and full-time students.
Mhm. And then we do a lot of high school. And the great thing about the high school is that is tuition fee. The other great thing about the high school is when I'm teaching high school classes, I'm paying all of the instructional fee, and the school gets their same FTE whether they teach it or not.
So it kind of helps you and the school now.
Yeah. So they don't have the expense of the instructor, but they get funded as if they did. And so it's a good deal for the, and we, you know, every year, Steve was at graduation, we have high school students crossing with us for their 2-year diploma before they cross at high school.
Because of dual enrollment.
In early college.
Fantastic.
You know, it's a great deal. And the other thing we're starting here is with the 3 superintendents. And so by this spring, we're going to have it set up, and I've already talked to Marcio and Lisa McCray, and they're on board as well. So the schools will each pick a person that will be one of their future teachers. And we will cover their tuition and fees through their 2-year degree. And then and they can go to either Marcio's or Lisa McCray and get the next 2 years free. And then they have to come back to the school and work for at least 4 years.
So kind of like a teaching fellows.
Yeah.
They have to come back to which school?
To their school
To their high school
or whatever.
or their county system.
Their county system. So we'll do that every year, and we'll be doing a grow your own teacher in each school district every year. And those teachers will have no no student debt. Yeah, so,
So there'll be one from each county.
that's a pretty good deal.
Anything else about the board? Jeff, you got anything?
I just want to say good job on everything that you've done, that you're doing. Great for the communities and great for Mitchell County. Just keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. And I do appreciate all of you and all that you do and all your support. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Boyd. Next item this evening on the agenda is the budget amendment number 1.
This is a follow-up from last meeting, and it has to do with the school. We're doing a budget amendment, and we're moving the one-to-one money to special appropriation line item. So it's just the in and an out, but I did need to reclassify that in the budget. We'll allocate that each month when we do their monthly allocation. In other words, we'll just add that. $272,000 from their local sales tax money and send them a check so they can make their payment for their devices.
Have a motion to approve. Second.
Thank you.
All in favor, vote as usual, sign. Motion carries. Next item we have on the agenda this evening is item 11C, amendment community college board member selection.
Let's table that until our next meeting, if possible.
Got a motion,
One in the motion.
got a motion to table, do I have a second?
A second.
All those vote as usual, sign. Motion to be tabled. Next item on the list, we've got Mosley Architects contract discussion. Okay.
I'll speak to that. So we have been talking with Mosley, and I have the architect contract reviewed by Attorney Dean Grindstaff, and then followed up with review by Special Projects Manager Boyd Heiss. Both have given us the green light to sign. That will need to be signed by the Commission Chair Steve Pittman. So I think our attorneys have given you the green light to sign on that. Oh, yeah. So Commissioner Masters had a question. Is the geotech in a part of this contract? Because that was an issue early on. That is correct. Originally, they had said it, and I know they would have held to it, but the initial contract did not have that, and Attorney Grindstaff caught that, so we sent it back, and they did correct it to include the geotech in the contract. So this one does include geotech in it. So they gave a e-signature style contract that you can do, and also can get one printed out for you to sign if that's something. I don't know if that needs to be a motion or anything to sign the contract, but it did get attorney approval to be signed by Steve at the point you all ready. Yeah.
So if for some reason we didn't need the jurisdiction and pull that out, if we
Yes.
needed to.
Yes, I think, let's say we had a project that geotech was not a factor. I've talked mostly about that. And in the event of, say, like if it was a remodel or something, then they would look at the pricing on that. It's spec'd out in that contract of the different things they do. Is that correct?
That's correct. They're not gonna charge something that good.
Okay, I just wanted to.
Would you still need a geotech and remodel C?
It's really, I mean, that's, you have to,
I'll put you on the spot.
Okay.
You're a
most of the time,
Engineer
yeah,
here,
most of the time you would want to.
Eight percent.
Yeah,
Probably gonna be bad for all of us, but.
better to have it in there
Not needed.
and not need it.
The vision, not have it.
Yeah. But it's old structure, you just never know what. Yeah. I'll, Commissioner, got a copy of that contract, right?
can email that out to y'all. I've had that to the attorneys and, I can send that out to everybody.
Send that out to everybody, and let them take a look at it.
Okay.
I'll sign it so everybody's had a chance to go through it, because there's any questions.
Would that need to be dealt with before Thursday?
Yeah, sooner the better. We have site selection visits with, Mosley Architects Thursday next week. So not this week. It's not this week. It's Thursday of next week. for site selection.
No,
It is.
we're doing this week, this Thursday, next Thursday.
Bring Lincoln in.
That's right. Yeah.
I know there was something wrong.
So, yeah, I think we can get it this week, maybe make a deadline, maybe by the end of this week, to get that signed, so when they bring their site selection crew up here, they'll feel.
Guys, take a look at it. If you got any questions, just email me or let me, or text me, let me know. And we'll see if we can get it answered. Basically, you guys will be meeting at 1 o'clock Thursday, the following.
That is
weekend, we're
correct.
gonna Go evaluate each of these sites and.
Yeah, so we're gonna, meet at 1 PM Thursday of next week to, get their civil engineer. They may bring a geotech, they're gonna bring their, expert on the, style of construction for a law enforcement center. So there'll be a crew of about 4 or 5 from the architecture firm of Mosley to visit our sites that we have flagged out at this point. You know, we can always add some new sites if you all come up on something, but, we got about 5 sites laid out for them to visit at this point. And they'll be here 1 PM to about 4 PM, looking at sites. At 5:30 PM, we're gonna have them meet here at Commission, EDC boardroom to, give us comparison and contrast of all the sites along with cost analysis. So, that's gonna be a very valuable meeting. If you can't make the visits, at least make the 5:30 meeting where, the rollout of all the sites are out. That's gonna be the main one right there to get to.
Any other discussion on that? Next on my list tonight's the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, vote for usual sign. This is the finance officer's report.
I've not given one for a couple of meetings because we've had so much on there, but I will talk just a minute about and answer any questions anybody has. We are in the process in the finance office of closing out our June 30, 21-22 budget. And I want to talk a little bit about, it's too early for me to make any real projections yet, but we're in the process of getting all the paperwork to audit, to put those numbers together, but we're also in the 45 to 60 day window doing payables and receivables. And what happens is we have a lot more receivables in this period of time than we do payables. We are up to date on our bills and everything from the year end. So what we have is just a few stragglers that come in, some utility bills that come in for June and things like that. So what happens is our payables are not great, but unfortunately our receivables, which is a good thing, but it's very hard to project. We've got a month still waiting on, we got one one big check-in for DSS, but we're waiting on another month on DSS. We're waiting on several on transportation. We're still waiting on, an ICANS grant for the sheriff's department. We've spent the money, haven't got the, we've spent the grant, but they've not reimbursed us yet, so we're waiting on that. So we've got several big ones.
Are these all reimbursements to the state?
Mhm. Yeah. And of course, we have our last sales tax. It won't be here till August 15th. So after August 15th, it's a little better to make some projections. But I do want to say this. When we did the budget last year, we were 1.6 in the red, 1.6 million in the red. Today, counting what we've got in payables and receivables and where we ended up, we're going to cut that about in half right now. And I'm hoping by the time August 15th comes, we're going to be even better. But I can't project because I don't know exactly what dollar amounts I've got coming from transportation and from DSS.
When you say we're cutting that in half, maybe is that due to just, us working hard to cut some.
Well,
costs,
and I
or-
put these in your box today. I finally did June 30 numbers. And you'll look, you've got some departments, we're everywhere from only 79% spent to 99% spent in some departments. But all the departments are coming in under. Overall, we're not hardly at 95% spent. So that is some savings. Of course, sales tax coming in more than budgeted again this year was a huge help.
So none of this is temporary money coming in like Martha or.
No,
It's
no, all that
just-
money's separate in separate funds, separate bank accounts. None of that money can be commingled. The opioid money, the money for the sheriff's department, the ARPA money,
So this-
any of that special revenue cannot be commingled. This is just your operating budget. This is just your general fund.
So this savings is, cutting that $1.6 million deficit in half is just for people working hard to pinch every penny. every one.
We have really done, considering how inflation's hit us with fuel costs, what they've had to do is to compensate for the fuel costs, they've cut in other areas, or they've tried to cut in other areas. In some cases, we're more successful than others, but, and I'll be honest with you too, part of it is turnover, where people have left and we've had some jobs empty for a few months, so we refilled those. I mean, it's a combination of things that happened, and it's still happening. We're still having that issue, but, when someone leaves, it is costly to replace that person, but we're usually going a month or two before we get somebody else on board. So there is some savings there in the long run. So I just want to let you know that we're getting there. And I hope, sometime in August or by the end of August, we'll get the last sales tax and hopefully get money, our reimbursement money from the state. We'll, I'm hoping, because if we'd used all of that money, we would have been down to about $3.5 million of fund balance. And that is really, really low with us trying to do the type of projects we're doing right now. So,
What percentage are we at right now?
okay, when we finished last year, we were at 23%. Right now, I figure today, based on the numbers I know right now, we're looking more like 20.77. So I'm hoping that we will definitely stay 20 and above %. We are falling, I wish we wouldn't fall down below 5 million, but we are. Like today, we're sitting at about 4.4 million.
But we
So
put some measures in place to try
to build that back up, because we knew we're going to use some of that
Right.
fund balance. So this year's budget is made provisions to start paying that back. And that's what we want to do.
Do you have any kind of estimate on how long it would take us to maybe get back towards the 25%?
Well, it's gonna depend on where we end up. I'll try to look at that in August when I see where we end up exactly. But you're looking at taking into consideration what we put in there this year to give the fund balance, you're looking at 3.5 years. to build back just where we are now, because you only put, we do like 238,000. So we need 600 or 800, so you're looking at 3 to 4 years to build that back up. Unless we have another good year in sales tax, but anyway.
I have faith in that.
I don't know. It's getting a little bit harder, but that's what we're doing right now. We're working on audit and it's really trying to get it closed out. I want to talk about one more thing, and that is on the reports that I put in your box. If you'll notice, another thing, this really helped us too. I'll tell you, another big thing that helped us was prior year taxes. We blew that budget out of the water this year. And also, if you'll look at your property tax collection on here, it's 97.93 is where we were setting June 30th. Now, when they do the audit, there's going to be a little bit of adjustment in there. But last year, we ended the year at 96.81. So you're talking about a whole percentage point better. And that really played a huge difference in why we didn't use all the 1.6. So it's a lot of little pieces that have to come together. And they're coming together. So we're not going to use all that. I wish I could, like last year, I could come and say, we're not going to use any of the stuff that we budgeted, but we're going to use some fund balance. I just hope we can mitigate it to where we can definitely stay at 20% or better. Okay, any questions? I think I already told y'all, we did get our first tiny draw on opioid. We got that account open. We got that set up in a special fund. It was only about $76,000. That's our first draw. We got our second draw of ARPA money, and again, that's set in its own account and its own fund. And we, of course, have the Sheriff's Department fund, and we've not heard from the state yet on the $2 million on the recreation project. That just passed this month, so usually it's about 60 days. So sometime I will be getting a request from the state, like we did for the Sheriff's Department. We'll have to write up our scope of work, give them a budget. We'll get Alan and their special projects person, Lloyd and Brock, we'll have to sit down and write all that up, get it into them, and then hopefully they'll send us that funding and we can get that funding set up and start going. Hopefully, we should get the departed grant in August, so maybe August will come in about the same time. Any questions? You're welcome.
Thank you.
I want to know, I think you met that candy jar was empty when I got here. You usually.
Probably took it all.
Right.
He took all of it.
I said, I can't believe this.
I didn't fill it up tonight. I think Taylor filled it up, but I think somebody sabotaged. You sign that for me, then I'm gonna.
Okay, got extra.
That Brock Duncan.
Brock, did
I
that.
think
I got ready to
they
swap
came in
Jeff's out for you, Steve.
And they sabotaged you before you were late. That's what
That's what
happened.
happens. That's exactly right. Next on the list, we got the county manager report.
So, the south end of our county, we border McDowell. And tomorrow I will be going out with the GIS person and the tax collector Blair to talk with the McDowell folks about our borders again. So, hey, I'm doing the job. So I guess maybe it is again, but there's been some studies done and stuff about that border. It's been like since the Revolutionary War, I think, since it's been surveyed. So we're gonna talk about that. I guess that's if you live on the border, if it's convenient to pay McDowell's taxes, if they're lower, you might try to say you live in McDowell. If it's convenient to pay Mitchell's taxes, then you might, say I live in Mitchell. So there's a few gray areas on, especially a few
Is this
developments.
one specific, was you in here, Vern, Widows houses like half and half?
But no, actually, I
Yeah.
remember.
Was it
It
you?
was, and in years past, I've actually been a part of a meeting with McDowell County officials about them giving up a few of the areas I don't know if y'all are aware, there's 2 homes on Apple Mountain that McDowell EMS responds to and their sheriff's department responds to. And you have to cross the Mitchell part to get to the McDowell part up there on Apple Mountain. And so,
Don't we have kind of the same situation up on Henson Creek and Ada County?
I think there's
Yes.
Central
feelings there.
but they've never been willing to give up that.
So there's a few houses, some developments at play. It's, an old lines, there's been a state study done that has now established a line. So we're gonna get with them and talk about that line tomorrow, with the McDowell folks. Hey, if any of y'all wanna come along, feel free. We're gonna, look at that. If they don't like it, there's really, after a certain amount of time, according to Blair and Keegan, there's not much they can do about the study. Well, the study's line, title work, et cetera, will all go into play. So, we're hoping, that we'll all see where each other's coming from and the line will be drawn, and I'll see I'll let you know next meeting. That meeting will be tomorrow. So I will start with talking about the McDowell Mitchell border. Like to talk a little bit about Mosley earlier, and yeah, we have 5 potential sites we're looking at. We definitely will be meeting next week, and I know Sheriff Donald Street's here, and we're happy to have him coming along and giving us his insight from the law enforcement perspective on that site selection. We'll also have a Mosley Commission Board, Special Projects Manager, Stan Cook. We got a group of folks that are looking at the sites and giving us some feedback. So we are hoping to get this project moving, and hopefully soon. So if you look in the boardroom here, you will now see a TV. We have a TV that's on rollers, which we can take to the other room. And so I felt the need as county manager to update our technology. Now, we also have Stephanie Wiseman with us tonight from Communications. And that TV you see right there was donated to us by Communications. So Stephanie, thanks for the
Thank you,
65-inch screen. And so if you're a taxpayer, no, we did not buy the TV on tax money. That is a TV that was not in use over there, so they brought it over here. Now we can sync presentations to this screen. I'm going to try to get some screen sharing ability for us to take. When you need to make a point here back as a commissioner, you can sync it into that screen. When Dr. Boyd has a speech about mailing and what's going on, he can now accompany that with his laptop and visual aids. So that's one of my goals here, being a new county manager, is to try to get our technology footprint going a little more here when I can find ways to do so, and when the commission board supports those projects, which they've always been good about. We're going to try to do everything we can to bring up our technology. We met last week with the chamber. That was Harley and myself, and talked a little bit about the occupancy tax revision. I might have talked about that in the last county manager report. So we're going to be doing a public notice to levy an occupancy tax on the next commission meeting, I think in mid-August, actually, or 1st of August, one of those two. And basically the occupancy tax is the same. So we're levying a tax that is the same, but they changed the wording and they made it a new bill. So now we got to re-levy the same tax to be within the protocol that's required. So we're working on that down the road. So it's still a 3% occupancy tax. So if you're an Airbnb listening to this and you pay occupancy tax, you're still paying 3%. That new occupancy tax law also makes the provision for a Blue Ridge Boutique Hotel to remit occupancy tax. So that is now in the works. And the other thing about occupancy tax is the formation of a TDA, of which we will be working on in that same meeting where we levy the tax. We'll also be voting to form a TDA, which is Tourism Development Authority, of which the commission board, and I see where I lost Jeff, I'm keeping an eye on them there. Excuse me for a minute, I want to redial while I'm talking. So that TDA will be set up, the chair is appointed by the commission board. And we will look and see how that TDA is, I'm gonna get a little bit more research over the next couple of weeks on what our TDA structure will look like. Final thing on the county manager report was Commissioner Steve Pittman, Harley Masters, and myself met with Chad over at the school board, Chad Calhoun, to look at the new middle school plans and get an update on everything that was going on. And I know Steve and Harley can speak a lot to that, but you know, he shared with us the plans. I kind of forwarded you all a little bit of what that looks like on my email. And also took us up to the new football field where they've got some artificial turf that is really looking nice up there. I think they're in the last little phases of finishing that out. So definitely looking to work together on a lot of these projects, and it's nice to be kept up to date. So I think that concludes the county manager report. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Sir, very thorough.
I know that we also were, well, ahead of getting their field done. Nancy County is not being able to use theirs on there, from what I understand. So, I feel good to know that we did a good job of getting that put together. Next item is the attorney's report.
Nothing to follow from that.
Next thing we got is closed session. Purpose of closed session be Mitchell County Board of Commissioners hold closed session in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 for the qualification, competence, performance, character, fitness, positions, initial appointment of an individual, public officer, or employee, prospective public officer or employee, or to hear investigative complaint charge, grievance filed against the public officer or employee. I have a motion to go into closed session. Second.
Second.
All in favor? For the closed session, we'll need the commission board, county attorney, the clerk, and Dawn. There's three parts to this. Okay.
Donald.
Don't say, Stephanie